Wendell and Wild is a stop-motion animated comedy horror film directed by animator Henry Selick and written by him and Jordan Peele. Henry Selick, you might know as the director of The Nightmare Before Christmas, James and the Giant Peach, or Coraline. Jordan Peele is mostly known for his comedy work with Keegan-Michael Key and his horror films Get Out, Us, and Nope. Key and Peele also both star as the titular Wendell and Wild, alongside a lot of other phenomenal actors, including a few big names that we'll get into later. Stop-motion animation takes a very long time, because every frame is a shot that needs to be posed and timed perfectly. This results in a very striking style. It is very loved or hated for people who watch it, and makes for a very fitting style for a gothic horror film like most of Henry Selick's previous works. I should probably mention Henry Selick's name a few more times here, because there are a lot of people who think that Tim Burton was the director of The Nightmare Before Christmas, when he was just the creator of the characters and story. Henry Selick was the director and the primary animator. Henry Selick. Henry Selick. Henry Selick. Most of the film was animated during the COVID-19 pandemic, which is officially over by the time of recording this video, but the disease and people with long-term symptoms are still all around, so watch out. It had a theatrical run in the USA, and it was then released on Netflix, which is where I watched it. The film centers around the story of Kat, a girl whose parents die at the start of the film in a car crash. Kat blames herself for her parents' deaths and ends up in a vicious cycle of abusive foster homes, getting bullied and bullying others in school, and juvenile detention centers for 5 years. She's then put in a sort of second chances program and enrolled in the Rust Bank Catholic School, an all-girls school with an asterisk, headed by Father Bests, played by motherfucking James Hong, who is a phenomenal actor from so many movies. So many movies. From this point onwards in the movie, you get a lot of foreshadowing and a lot of interlocking smaller character stories that all twine around the story of Kat and the past, present, and future of the town of Rustbank, where Kat's parents used to run a root beer factory. So I'm just going to go run through the principal ones that I kind of saw in this film. There's the stories of Kat, who goes to school, gets a skull mark on her hand, gets told to hide it by Sister Helly, played by Angela Bassett, then sees the demons Wendell and Wild appear in a dream with promises to resurrect her dead parents. If she summons them to the living world, then she steals a demonic teddy bear from Sister Helly. Its name is Beelzebub. She goes to her parents' grave with Raoul. I love Raoul. Raoul's great. She gets conned into serving Wendell and Wild, gets reunited with her parents after Raoul resurrects them, gets her soul bound by Sister Helly and the evil janitor. There's an evil janitor. He collects demons. More on that later. So that she can confront her inner demons and trauma and gain control over her power to see the future. She stops Wendell and Wild from killing her parents again, sacrifices a chance of more time with her parents to resurrect 3 workers from the root beer brewery that had burned down, so that they can testify to who was responsible for the fire that destroyed the factory, the brewery, and saved the town. After that, Kat shows a vision of the future of Rustbank to her parents, giving them some peace, and they say their goodbyes. And Kat goes on to live a happy life in Rustbank. Secondly, there is perhaps the primary antagonists of the film, the Klaxons of Klax Corp, where the parents want to destroy the old root beer brewery and build a prison where they can pack prisoners like sardines in a can to maximize profits and contribute to an ever-worsening social-political climate that feeds into the prison industrial complex, and where any problem children like Kat get undermined so that they inevitably end up in their prisons as adults. Explicitly. Meanwhile, they're trying to cover up their crime of setting fire to the old root beer factory and killing the workers, doing this by murdering Father Bests and cutting deals with Wendell and Wild to resurrect the old guard of the city council, to storm in and finally vote in favor to build their prison, and to not resurrect anyone else because the graveyard is full of root beer brewery workers who could testify against them in court. And ultimately, this results in the parents getting arrested and testified against by the workers that Kat resurrected. And then there's Father Best's, James Hong, who keeps trying to get a lot of money from the Claxons to renovate his school, because the money he's getting from the Second Chances program that brought Kat there isn't enough. So he's constantly acting like the stereotypical greedy Catholic priest, although he does seem to have the school's best interests at heart. Side note, but I think it's wonderful that the character looks so much like James Hong himself that it made me instantly recognize him. And when he is resurrected, he gets like makeup on his face that makes him look like a Chinese vampire in Chinese movies. It feels very culturally appreciative of the film, calling on Chinese film inspirations and perhaps reflecting James Hong's old role as Lo Pan in Big Trouble in Little China as well. Then there's Sister Helly, who is constantly trying to help Kat even when Kat doesn't want her to, because Sister Helly went through very similar ordeals to Kat's when she was young. We see hints of her being a Hell Maiden, hand and everything, like Kat and her history with the evil janitor who imprisons and chops up demons in his office. She saves Kat's life, helps her control her powers, and joins the protest against the demolition of the root beer brewery. Finally, she gets the janitor to come with her when Wendell and Wild's dad shows up at the end. And more on that later. Then there's Raoul and his mom, where you get to see snippets of both of them here and there, and their actions and are pivotal to the flow of the film. When Raoul is introduced, there's maybe a bit of confusion as to why this boy is in an all-girls school. And several times you see that other characters misgender or deadname Raoul and get corrected on it. The way they show that Raoul is a transgender boy, without even explicitly using the term transgender anywhere, is very cool. And it's great to see his mom stand up for him, to see his classmates correct themselves, and to see Raoul take such a positive and pivotal role, even if it's not a main one. His mom, as a lawyer and city council member, shows up a few times, dealing mainly with the vote about the Claxcorp prison and the resurrected old council members. The climax of the film shows Raoul's artwork that he's been working on all throughout the film, which reflects his relationship with his mother, and it makes for a change of heart in Wendell and Wild's father. We'll see that later. Lastly, Wendell and Wild, who are tired of slaving away in the underworld and working for their father. They live in his nose, by the way. Their father owns a hellish fun fair. Their dream is to build their own fun fair, and they think that they can't do that unless they get away from their father. They discover that their father's hair cream can resurrect the dead, so they steal it and make the deals with Kat and the Claxons on who they should resurrect and who not. And from then on, they're kind of the secondary antagonists, working under the Claxons until Kat stands up to them with the help of her resurrected parents. At the end of the film, their father realizes what they've done and rises up from the underworld to punish them. But he sees Raoul's artwork, And he apologizes to Wendell and Wild for being too harsh on them, because he's been harsh on his previous children too. And if you paid attention, you may have heard him call them his last two sons earlier on in the film. And he doesn't want Wendell and Wild to run off too. He promises that they can come back and help him build and design a new fun fair in the underworld. Then the janitor shows up and shows that he was the reason his other children had never returned, because the demons he collected were all those other children. They are released. These children are released, and all go to hell together, happily ever after. This film is amazing in how it expertly weaves everything together, and how there's so many little callbacks and so many clever foreshadowing that is very clear even on a first viewing. I sometimes have difficulty recognizing all of the little background stuff and all of the little bits of foreshadowing, even if the broad strokes are very clear, but I thought that it was very obvious in this film. Highly recommend this film to anyone who loves stop motion, animation, or horror comedies.